We begin with an important and difficult conversation. Abortion rights are being challenged across the country ahead of a key decision facing the U.S. Supreme Court, one that could lead to the overturning of a ruling that has stood for nearly half a century. In Roe v. Wade in 1973, the High Court ruled the U.S. Constitution protects a pregnant woman's right to choose without excessive government restriction, barring states from banning abortion until a fetus is viable outside the womb, which is now around 23 weeks or so into a pregnancy. That hasn't stopped many states from trying to outlaw abortions, especially recently, with lawmakers adding more restrictions or even changing the timeline for women. Just this past week, Oklahoma politicians approved a near-total abortion ban. And late last month, Arizona and Kentucky moved forward on bans at 15 weeks. Arizona's legislation has very limited exemptions that don't include rape or incest. Doctors could face felony charges and even go to prison if they perform the procedures. Now, these are just a few examples. Many more states are working to mirror a law enacted in Texas last year called the Texas Heartbeat Act. Not only does it impose an abortion ban after 6 weeks in most cases, which many women will tell you is too early, it essentially gives the power of enforcement to the people, even offering rewards for successfully suing anyone who aids and abets a woman who gets an abortion. That one law has led to many clinics denying services for fear of legal action, and several women making the difficult choice to go to neighboring states for care. And now lawmakers are trying to stop that from happening too. In Missouri, 4 years after an attempt to ban most abortions, there are new efforts to restrict them. For instance, Republican State Representative Mary Elizabeth Coleman has a proposal on the table, much like what we've seen in Texas, except this one gives private citizens the power to sue people who help a woman get an abortion, even if it's not in Missouri. She spoke with me recently about the measure.
What this bill is aiming to do is to make sure that the pro-life protections that are in place in the state of Missouri are extended to women no matter where they were. But what it isn't trying to do is limit a woman's movement in any way. And it also isn't trying to limit anyone's free speech protections under the Constitution.
Representative Coleman claims thousands of Missourians have crossed into Illinois to get abortions since 2019. Keep in mind, there's only one clinic in Missouri, which doesn't leave women with a lot of options. And again, all of this is happening as we await a Supreme Court decision that could have major implications. To help us sort through all the challenges and changes, please welcome Caroline Kitchener of the Washington Post, a national political reporter focused on abortion issues. Caroline, thank you so much for taking the time to get to the heart of what's happening here. You know, it seems like there's a new fight on abortion rights everywhere you turn. You've been to the clinics in Illinois just over the Missouri border. What are you seeing?
Well, you look at a map of the United States, and the Missouri-Illinois border, when it comes to abortion, is unlike any other place. Because on one side of the border, you have one of the most conservative, some would say the most conservative state on abortion rights, which is Missouri. And right across the river, you've got Illinois, which has some of the most relaxed laws when it comes to abortion. So the crossing is a really, really fascinating point. And you're seeing the clinics on the Illinois side doing, really first of their kind, really leading the way on trying to think about, okay, if Roe v. Wade does fall in June, what are we going to do to help as many patients as we can? What are we going to do to get as many patients in here from other states, from anti-abortion states, as we possibly can?
And walk us through this decision, because it's potentially coming up this summer, and again, it could have major implications for the whole country.
Yeah. So the case is Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization. It revolves around a law out of Mississippi that bans abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy. Now, that's significant because Roe v. Wade protects the right to abortion up until the point of viability, which is widely seen as 22 to 24 weeks. So this is a direct challenge to Roe. 15 weeks, that's significantly before viability. So everybody is really watching to see, is the Supreme Court going to uphold the Mississippi law, which would significantly weaken Roe v. Wade? Is it going to overturn Roe v. Wade altogether? The justices really gave every indication in the arguments in December that they were ready to reconsider that landmark precedent.
And you see red states really jumping at this, at least ahead of time. Missouri's a red state. I've counted at least 24 bills on abortion filed this year by politicians in Jefferson City. We just heard from Representative Mary Elizabeth Coleman, who I know you've talked to and reported on as well. Many women seeking abortions many times confide in a support system. This is a very difficult decision. So what would the impact be if bills like that one passes?
I mean, Mary Elizabeth Coleman's bill is really unlike anything I had ever seen before. Her particular amendment would, really try to stop patients from crossing state lines for abortion. It wouldn't restrict the actual patient, but it would allow, in the same way that Texas has, it would allow anybody to sue anyone who helps a Missouri resident access abortion out of state. I haven't really seen that out of state provision before. So that's a really new and potentially extremely significant dynamic at play. We're expecting all of these red states to either ban abortion or severely restrict the procedure. The question is, what comes next? Are they going to try to restrict abortion in some way outside of their state as well?
Right. And, our Kansas City metro stretches into Kansas, a state with 4 abortion clinics, 2 in our area. That could change depending on the fate of a constitutional amendment voters decide in August. Just ballparking here, what impact would a reversal in Kansas have for women in the Midwest? Because we know many women in many states are scrambling to other states for care.
Well, Kansas has been a huge access point. You see a lot of patients from Texas going all the way to Kansas. Right now, Oklahoma is poised to pass an identical law to the one that has restricted abortion in Texas in September. And if that happens, you're going to see patients just flooding into Oklahoma. You're already seeing, I was just in an Oklahoma clinic last week where several doctors have, scaled back their time in Oklahoma in order to spend more time in Kansas, preparing for those states to restrict abortion. So Kansas has really been a critical access point for a lot of patients.
We know this is an issue that you'll continue to watch, and we appreciate your reporting. Caroline Kitchener with the Washington Post, thank you so much for your perspective and everything you've been doing covering this issue. If you're interested in learning more about the political battle over abortion rights and restrictions across the country, read all of Caroline's extensive reporting online at WashingtonPost.com.